I've posted this story twice before on Reddit. In hindsight, I can say it's funny now. In college, I had a bit of a dry spurt, so I went to Craigslist to try and get some quick, easy sex. I went to a big school with a lot of other schools in the area, so I figured I'd probably find someone in the same situation as me on the other side of the fence. I'm the type that would bang anything, so I responded to every ad on there. There were a bunch of bots that sent replies, and one actual girl who responded. She was 19 and described as a BBW. And boy, was she right. When she sent me her body pic, it looked like she took up the entire bed. I mean, she was huge. At least 300 pounds and 6 feet tall. I'm a big guy myself, standing 6'2" and weighing about 200, give or take 15 pounds depending on the season. But this girl looked way bigger. That night when she responded, I told her that I only had a couple hours, which she convinced me wasn't enough time. So we set up a fuck session for later that week at her dorm. I made sure to set up the appointment for during the day, as I didn't want her to figure out my name from the security desk where you have to give your ID to go up into the building past the lobby. I get to her room and she answers the door, and Jesus Christ, she is huge. Easily makes me look like a small guy. And she was taller, too. I felt like I was Princess Leia with a dick about to stick it into Jabba's sand pussy. Holy fuck, what was I getting myself into? We sit on our bed and have some awkward small talk. She whips out a bowl and we smoke. Eventually, she asked me if this was the first time I'd answered an ad like that. It was, and I asked her the same. It wasn't. And catching this as a cue, I whip my dick out and she gets to work. This was honestly the best blowjob I've ever received. She did everything perfect, from working the head and the shaft, cupping the balls, doing crazy shit with her tongue. If everything that happened after that didn't happen, I would have called her forever for blowjobs. She even said she loved giving them and could do it for hours. Eventually, though, she wants to get fucked, and I was not ready for what came next. She gave me a condom, and while I strapped it on, she assumed the doggy position, and this awful, foul stench seeped out of her pussy. It was a combination of general lack of hygiene, a history of abuse, and maybe an STD. I got checked afterwards. If there was one there, thank God for condoms. For a second, I froze. All my instincts told me to get all my clothing on and run out of there. While I hesitated, she popped up and said, "Oops, forgot something," and went under her bed. From there, she pulled out a giant black and red tarp and laid it over the bed. What the fuck is this?" I asked. "I'm a bit of a squirter." Instinct to run? Gone. At this point, I'd never been with a squirter, and even though this woman was foul in all the other ways, I manned up and got behind there. As I entered, it didn't feel good, and the smell got worse, but I kept on trucking. Meanwhile, she's honking and hollering, and I'm starting to gag. Literally gagging as I'm humping this behemoth. I grab my shirt and wrap it around my face, and it barely helps, but that little bit is keeping my lunch on my stomach, so I continue. She turns back as I'm fucking her doggy to see me now wearing this shirt as a face mask bandana thing, and somehow that turns her on, and she starts orgasming, and I was not ready for what came next. "I'm a bit of a squirter." A geyser erupted. Juice literally exploded from her vagina, and everything behind her was covered. Me, the tarp, the bedposts, the wall, her random goth band posters, her desk from the splash, my clothes on the floor the same way. If it was in the line of sight of that vagina, it was covered. I pulled out and surveyed the damage for a second, and momentarily freaked out. Jesus Christ! What the fuck just happened?
"I'm not done."
Without hesitation, I jumped back in, and for the next hour, maybe 2 hours, I humped the shit out of her in every possible position, catching the worst angles and grinding against the grossest of boils while she covered everything in the room with cum. She hit the fucking ceiling at one point. It was like someone cut the major cum artery. It was absurd, and while one of the grossest experiences of my life, one of the greatest as well. She was one of the most disgusting people I've ever met, and for sure the most disgusting I ever fucked. But making someone come like their old faithful for hours on end made me feel like a man in some fucked up way. Yeah, that was my dick that was making you gush. Someone give me a steak. When we were done, she sucked my dick until I came. I only came once. The smell was so grotesque that I had a hard enough time not puking, let alone staying hard while we were fucking. By the end, though, I was so tired from all the work I put in, I pretty much was half asleep in a puddle of her nasty-ass vagina juice while she sucked every last drop from my dick. It was insane. I put my clothes on, left, and grabbed a bus back to my apartment. When I sat down, a couple people actually got up and moved to another seat because I smelled so bad, but I didn't care. A couple weeks later, we met up and fucked again at our place, but it wasn't the same. I focused more on her flaws instead of the insane surprise of that fire hydrant between her legs. 3 months later, I bought acid from this kid, and she knew him and came in during the deal, tripping herself. We went back to her room, and she sucked my dick while the walls melted. After that, I never saw her, talked to her again. TLDR, I fucked Jabba the Slut. She was a squirter. Holy Christ.